If you ask which Terminator movie is the best, the answer must be the second one. In this issue, let's review this classic. In 2029, the once prosperous Los Angeles is full of ruins, and human bones are scattered all over the ground. On August 29, 1997, the Sky-Wang system developed by humans gained self-awareness and launched an unprecedented nuclear war against humans. It directly caused the death of 3 billion people and put the human race on the verge of extinction. The people who survived the war called this day the God-sent day. From then on, robots replaced humans and completely dominated the world. In order to solve this big problem, the T-800 was sent back to 1984 to try to assassinate Connor's mother. He looked around and began to search for his target. The Harley motorcycle outside the bar successfully caught his attention. A naked, hungry hunk suddenly appeared. The request for 800 caused laughter in the room. The uncle looked disdainful and used a big cotton ball to scald the man. Unexpectedly, the strong man opposite did not even frown, but his arm was sprained. Others in the bar rushed to help. The result can be imagined. After a while, they were all knocked down. The uncle could only confess obediently. What's missing? This is an old man who came out to deliver equipment. Not only was his gun stolen, but he also wore a pair of sunglasses. In a few minutes, he was fully equipped and kicked off a motorcycle that was worth 800 yen. At the same time, a night shift policeman found abnormal current interference in an abandoned factory. The iron fence was melted by something to form a large circle. He was a little puzzled and just turned around. He was killed. Terminator T-1000 found Connor's information and address through the police car computer system. At that time, Connor was only 10 years old and was a very naughty boy. Not only did he ignore his adoptive mother, but he also ignored his adoptive father. Today, he set his sights on an ATM. He skillfully operated it and successfully received $300 every few minutes. The person who taught him this skill was none other than his biological mother, Sarah. In Connor's eyes, his mother was a complete lunatic. She always said that there would be a nuclear war in the future, and the Terminator robots would kill all humans. In the eyes of Dr. Silberman, who survived the previous game, this crazy woman is a dangerous person with a serious tendency to violence. If she doesn't obey and take sedatives, she will be beaten. On the other hand, T-1000, disguised as a policeman, came to Connor's adoptive parents' home. Unlike the previous T-800, her rich expressions and natural conversation made it impossible to tell that she was a robot. Meanwhile, T-1000 was asking around with the photo and happened to meet Connor's friend. He thought the police had been called because of the money he had just paid, so he quickly notified Connor to run away. At the end of the corridor, a burly man in a black leather jacket, sunglasses, and a pistol appeared. What was worse was that T-1000 caught up with him from the other side. Connor then realized that the big man was here to save him and used his body to block the continuous gunfire for him. While the opponent is reloading, kick 800 and start counterattack. Sure enough, the bullet holes on the body immediately recovered as before. He stood up and wrestled with T-800. After all, the liquid robot was the latest model. Both its speed and strength were much higher than the opponent. After a few hits, he threw T-800 away. Connor took the opportunity to ride away on his small motorcycle. Of course, T-1000 would not miss this great opportunity. He followed behind him all the way and came to the road. He stole a passing truck. Connor cleverly drove the motorcycle into a dry drainage ditch. However, the distance was too far to remember the actual effect. However, Winchester's lever sight cold gun made Zhou conceal the kick. In an instant, Connor was about to be caught. The substitute babai moved down from a high place. It was obvious that a substitute was used. Although he also wore sunglasses, the next shot was switched. Zhou pretended to bump up and make a cool and dangerous overtaking, took out the gun, and breathed. The truck lost its direction instantly and crashed into the bridge. There was an explosion. Fire shot up into the sky. The unlucky two-person stand-in tribe came online again. The captain stopped the motorcycle and drew his gun again. The classic scene appeared. The two raised their swords 1,000 feet high. They were all shocked. When they arrived at the safe area, Connor realized that everything his crazy mother said was true. The robot in front of him was the one Connor sent from the future to protect him. In order to escape the pursuit of the liquid metal robot, his father decided to take Connor out of the city. Although Connor didn't like his adoptive parents, he still had to inform them before leaving the city. The strange thing was that the adoptive mother on the other end of the phone was surprisingly nice, which had never happened before. Connor felt something was wrong and answered the phone for his father, imitating Connor's voice. The police found Salah, and the surveillance camera took a photo. He looked exactly like the man who was tortured in the police station 11 years ago. Salah stood there motionless. He knew that the former Terminator had returned, and then he walked over secretly. Connor realized that his mother might be in danger, and he wanted to rescue her. After returning to the room, Salah spits out a paperclip from her mouth to open the handcuffs. T-1000 used the identity of a policeman to come to the mental hospital and disguised himself as a floor. While the fat guard was buying Connor at this time, Sarah had already escaped from the room. He was beaten down by several clubs and took a full injection of painful and highly toxic herbicides. He took the doctor hostage and escaped from the hospital step by step. When he came to the elevator, T-800 appeared. Sarah panicked as if he had seen a ghost. The female man was so scared that he collapsed to the ground. At this time, T-1000 showed up and performed his special skills for everyone. Silberman was shocked and dropped his jaw. T-800 retreated while shooting to buy time for the two. Unexpectedly, the elevator door was forcibly opened and Kick 800 was shot in the face without hesitation. T-1000 still didn't give up and chased after him despite the gunshots. His hands turned into hooks and hung on the car tightly. Fortunately, the high firepower of the gun broke his hook, and he was able to temporarily get rid of it. The broken hook was still shaking. Connor was scared and quickly threw it away. Salah scolded his son for not risking his life for him because Connor's life was too important, and he was carrying the future of mankind. TT-800 said he couldn't understand why humans would cry. The three of them came to an unmanned gas station and took a rest here. Sarah took out dozens of warheads from her back and told Kana on behalf of 800 that her CPU originally had a neural network that could learn functions including human emotions. The king turned it off. If you want to turn it on, standing still, the former Terminator left an indelible shadow on Salah. He picked up a hammer and wanted to smash the chip. At the critical moment, Connor stopped him with the tone of a future leader. After the restart, the T-800 started the learning mode. They had to get away from the city as far as possible. After the facial supplement, the T-800 smiled awkwardly for the first time. Sarah couldn't help asking about Skynet. The person in charge of this project was Dr. Dyson. He was the director of Cybertron systems. He created a revolutionary processor. In 3 years, Cybertron became the largest supplier of military computer systems, from small to unmanned, and even to nuclear bombs. Since the funding bill for Skynet was passed in 1997, Skynet has begun to learn at an exponential rate. In a blink of an eye, the three of them came to the U.S.-Mexico border. Sarah took them to visit her old friend, Ren Lee Kay. This is where Connor grew up. There are a large number of weapons and equipment in the underground warehouse, all kinds of guns. Sarah watched Connor and T-800 get along well together. She felt that this robot was more like a father. No matter what the future holds, he will always be with Connor. Sarah came to Dyson's house and prepared to shoot him in the head. Fortunately, his son's remote control car saved his life. Killed the important police officer. May wanted to shoot him. Looking at Dyson lying on the ground and his wife and children begging for mercy, he couldn't do it. Dyson didn't know what he was doing. Then the Terminator told them what was going to happen in the future. Dyson said he would stop all research projects and agreed to take them to the laboratory to destroy everything. Then Dyson said something shocking. It turned out that all their research was based on the chip left by the first generation of Terminator. Without further ado, everyone came to the company overnight and tied him up and threw him into the toilet. At the same time, they found that something was wrong. Then the T-800 took out the grenade launcher and blasted the door open to enter the interior. They destroyed everything in the laboratory. Dyson even smashed his years of hard work with his own hands. At this time, the police mobilized the entire city's police force to surround the entire institute. The The T-800 kicked the Gatling gun and dragged a 40-meter-long bullet to prepare for special care for the police. Of course, he did not forget Connor's instructions not to kill people casually. A round of shooting made the policeman run away with his head in his hands. He even gave him a few grenades. He was very considerate. On the other side, Connor and Dyson opened the safe and got the mechanical arm chip. Just as they were retreating, several policemen rushed in. Dyson was hit by a rat gun. He knew he was dying, so he signaled others to leave first, and he would detonate the explosives to rescue the trapped Sala for the 800 broken meat. Before detonating the explosives, facing the hordes of police outside, kick 800 only. A man slowly walked out of the smoke under the dense fire. He did not forget Connor's order, but just injured the police and went outside to rob a truck and rushed into the hall to rescue Connor. At this time, kick 1000, the helicopter then entered the plane in liquid form. The pilot had never dreamed that there was such an operation. The helicopter followed the road and bit the truck tightly. The two sides engaged in a fierce exchange of fire. Sala's leg was hit. The T-800 braked, and the helicopter avoided it. It was rear-ended and shattered on the spot. The lingering T-1000 walked out of the ruins and grabbed a truck full of liquid. Since there was no other way, they could only borrow the old man's pickup truck. In a hurry, he jumped to the front of the car and fired a burst of bullets at him, snatched the steering wheel, and made the car lose control. It rushed into a steel mill. The tank was ruptured by the violent impact, and a large amount of liquid nitrogen gushed out. You should know that the lowest temperature of this thing can be as low as -209 degrees Celsius. The liquid metal robot gradually became stiff in such a low temperature and was finally, although the T-1000 was smashed into pieces, it didn't mean it was over. The high temperature in the steel mill slowly melted the ice, and the liquid metal began to gather again. Soon, it stood up again. Its sharp eyes made people shudder. T-800 took the two of them and fled deep into the factory. Perhaps the temperature here was too high. T-800 asked Sala and the other two to go first. The merciless T-1000 behind him pierced his body with steel bars. The yellow light in his eyes gradually went out. The cunning T-1000 imitated Sala's appearance and voice. Connor appeared. At the same time, the real Sala appeared from behind him and shot him into the molten iron with a wire shotgun. At the critical moment, he ran out of bullets. As the T-1000 attacks John and Sarah, the Terminator arrives from behind and shoots T-1000 several times with his shotgun, and making him fall over into a hot tub containing molten iron. John throws the metal arm and the chip in the iron molting pot as well. The Terminator reminds them that there is still one more chip that must be destroyed. It points at its skull. It takes the pulley and step into the iron molten mix over the screams of John, who wants the Terminator to be there for him. The Terminator is dissolved and dissipated, and the red light of his eyes goes out.